Some people want grace, but don't respect your space. They expect patience, access, and understanding while crossing boundaries like they don't exist. So the question is tonight, are you being kind or are you being taken for granted? Today we breaking down what's happening when people don't understand the balance between space and grace. I'm your host, Walt J, with Melanie and Cara. This is Don't Spill the Tea, Spill the Truth. What's up, people? That sounds like
What's
it's a
up,
great
Wawa?
topic today.
Definitely.
Good topic. Good topic. Before we get started, so just in social media news and the happenings around town, what did you find interesting, Walter, on social media?
Well, my topic, what I found interesting was performance and reality. And I have a question. Does posting your partner validate the relationship or market it? You know, you have a lot of people posting what they do on social media, right? So does that validate your relationship or you just put on a market?
Are you giving us an example of a relationship you talking about on social media?
Well, I guess one of them, I guess you can compare it to like celebrities. You know how celebrities are always in spotlight and stuff. But then you got some celebrities that pay attention to the spotlight and stuff. They like that the entourage and stuff. But then again, you got some people that you don't even know they're in a relationship because they keep it hidden, so to speak. And so that's one of my examples right there. But then again, you have some people that you know locally that they will broadcast their relationship. You know, they want to go out, you know, showcase. I got this, got that. Every little thing happens is on the internet, on social media. So, you know, that's my example without even giving names and stuff. But you know, it's a lot of them out there. So also to tie that in to what we talking about today, you know, some people don't understand space and grace, but how can you want space when you constantly putting yourself out there on social media, broadcasting your relationship and stuff? That's gonna allow people to come in because you don't want it seems like you're inviting their opinion to your relationship because you putting it out there though.
I agree with that.
Yep. Well, I definitely agree. But one of the examples I can definitely talk about if related to your issues is Beyonce and Jay-Z. We can name a plethora of people. You got Jay-Z, Beyonce, you got Rihanna, Sat Rocky, you have Clarissa, which is the topic in Papoose. Uh, meet Lotto and 21 Savage, allegedly. Me personal, I ain't gonna lie, in the beginning, yes, my man, my man, my man. Now, it ain't none of your damn business what I'm doing. And the part of it is I'm not married too. Yes, I'm dating someone, but I'm not married. So I don't even know if I approach you with my husband. It just some things I just want to keep private. And you are right. You leave people to interpretation and opinions about your relationship. Cause let something get messed up or something pop off between you and your partner. I thought they was better than this. I wish I had somebody like that. You never wish to be like nobody because you don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. What you think, man?
True. I agree with that. I have rarely posted in my relationships. I've always been private when it comes to that because I didn't want to deal with the opinions of others, and then it actually made the relationship peaceful. You don't have to worry about others' opinions anyway. I mean, if you don't put it out there, then they can't speak on it. So, and then it just depends on what the two of you who's ever in their relationship, what they discuss, what their privacy is going to be. I mean, public figures, they're already in the public eye. So why broadcast how you're moving and what you're doing? I mean, they go to galas, they go to award shows. Paparazzi is already there. So those it's going to be seen anyway. It's going to be put in the forefront for other people to view anyway. Anything else, I think it should be very, very private, honestly, especially if you have family involved, like children involved, then those things, I don't feel like it should be broadcast. But everybody move differently because, some people put their business out there to make more money when they do shows and stuff like that. So I think when you make decisions like that, you got to know the consequences that come with it. And then we've all seen the consequences that come with it. So that's why when I've been in long-term relationships, short term too, I always keep it private because if it doesn't last, then you're gonna get feedback on something that didn't last or that was short lived. And it could be short lived because you both decided to go separate ways. Hey, you link up and meet and then realize that hey, we don't gel, we don't mesh. So people are entitled to their opinions. You are the one to determine for that opinion to be valid. So
I agree.
good. That
My
was
social, that's a good one. I like that too, right, man?
that
That
was
was
good.
real good. Hey, shout out to Walt. My social media topic, I'm gonna go a different direction a little bit. Since y'all military folks, what's going on with your boy talking about? We know it's been in law that you're supposed to register between 18 and 26 for the military, but now they're making it mandatory. So I know some people are concerned about it, and it's all over social media. And some people is like, "What about my child that's turning 18 this year?" So how do y'all feel about that? Because me, I'm kind of concerned. I'm really kind of concerned because
I'm
you
not.
you starting a war, and that don't need to be started in the first place. But I know that's what make people like you and Mel, be a part of that community and that lifelong brother sisterhood. But still, let people have a choice.
They should have a choice. I had this discussion with someone. We all know that history tends to repeat itself. So this is a repeated thing because there was a draft once before, and we did lose a lot of younger soldiers because they were not prepared. And then, as we know, as President Obama exited, he downsized our military, the numbers in the military. So we don't have the numbers for the war that he's pushing. And currently, we are sending a lot of body bags back for a war that we are not prepared for. So it is a major concern. The newer generation, they're wiser, but they are weaker. They are not as Walter and I, because we're kind of somewhat in same age range, but
That
yeah,
old school.
they're not as strong as we were then. It is alarming. Of course, wars make money for country. We all know that as well. So it's just so much going on politically with the president that is so many bells and whistles that are already alarming. And there's so many things that we can speak on. I don't feel like this generation is ready for a draft. And honestly, I don't feel like a lot of the younger generation are going to step forward and go. I think you'll get more of a rebel and saying, I'm not serving for this cause. Because what is the cause? 'Cause what Walter and I signed up for is to protect and fight the country. You fight for our country. Those terms have changed because it's almost like you could push a button and start something. Now you're sending off, troops. And then you're sending off good troops, the young, and then you're sending off the older, the tenured, who has families, they hold positions in the communities. We're losing good people for no cause.
I don't know. I really don't know what's the war about. Really, can't really.
I think power.
Money, greed.
Yeah, greed, power, wanting power over others. And and as Carl just said, a greed for power. You want power. It's almost like power over the whole world. And it's in so many words from what I'm seeing. One man can't have that much power.
Baby, he tried.
It's
Yeah,
scary.
it
Very
is.
scary. So my findings on social media was pretty much the happenings in the city.
Okay.
This past weekend there were a lot of festivals going on, a lot of festivities. Last week I had the honor to celebrate another year around the sun. I turned 44, April 7th.
44.
Um, so the
Okay,
city is
okay.
actually trying to get its groove back.
What
We
city is this?
the city of Jackson, Mississippi. That's what we're speaking of. So that's where Walter and I are. They had the Lemon Drop Festival, which they had food trucks and I think it was a certain alcohol. I didn't look the alcohol up because I was interested but not interested. And then the next thing was the Tiger, Train Like a Tiger at JSU, Jackson State University. They allowed the community to come out for that. They had the Food Fest, the Foodies Fest, which was in
Ooh.
Pearl, Mississippi. That was from the 10th through the 12th. So that just ended on yesterday. And then they had the annual Township Jazz Festival in Ridgeland. That was this weekend on there. And then today they had the Taste of Mississippi. And I think that's actually still going on. It ends shortly. But the Taste of Mississippi. And then my hometown was the Catfish Festival. So that's
Catfish.
in Belzoni, Mississippi. It's the Catfish Festival of the world. That's what they're
Oh,
known for. So
Okay.
that was the happenings. I did not attend any of those happenings. I actually got invited by the mayor and audible of Walls, Ottoman of Walls, Mississippi. The mayor is Kedron Henderson.
Mm.
He is having a huge summer camp for kids. So right now they're doing a lot of fundraisers so that the children can attend for free because he wants the kids to have things to do and he wants the community to pour back into them. They had 112 and DJ Stormy to come out for a fundraiser events. I was invited to that, so I was in attendance of that on Saturday evening, which was really nice. It was a packed house, and it was Mike and Slim, and they performed a couple songs. And DJ Stormy was on the 1 and 2. She's a celebrity DJ. I followed her for a while. She DJs really, really well. I really love how she DJs. So that was the happenings within the city. And can't forget because I'm wearing a jacket. April 4th was I'm in the military sorority, Key Kappa Epsilon Psi. We celebrated our Founders Day on April the 4th. So that was the news around the town.
shout out to that. It made me want to have something to drink. Definitely eat some food. Shout out to 112 because they make me think of Cupid and doesn't lie. Okay, cut out the singing, but that's what it made me think of.
You don't know if you give it a try.
Okay, you don't know if you give it a try. Come on, Walker.
Yeah. Well,
And see, you give me about to like, no,
Yeah.
that's a no. That's a no.
I believe it
That's a
alone.
no.
I believe
Okay.
it alone. Leave it
Okay.
alone.
all right. So space
And grace.
Anyways,
and grace. Space and grace.
Space and
I've been
grace.
waiting for this subject a little bit,
Okay.
and I came up with a question that I have to ask. Is it harder to give space or to accept it?
Is it harder to get space? Think it's hard to get space. So, as I do in the beginning, let me give the definition of grace. That's a polished movement of behavior. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Space, you already know what space is. For me, I think it goes back to the subject matter, space and grace. I can give you space in any platform area in my life, right? But the hard part is grace. See, space is easy because I can disconnect easily. Is it wrong? Absolutely is wrong. But I've just learned to protect my peace at all costs. So eliminating space is no problem for me.
I think it would depend on the attachment to that person giving them space. I think normally when people do give space is after they have been hurt or really, really hurt. Because sometimes some hurt you can get over, but it's almost like a hurt as a betrayal. I think that's when people normally just give or force or abruptly give space because now they're protecting themselves from being hurt again. It can be easy. It just depends on the dynamics of that relationship, who it is, and how attached you are to that person. I think those are the elements that determine the space.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. In my opinion, I think sometimes it's good to give space a little bit because sometimes you got to hit that reset button. It depends on the individual, of course, but sometimes if y'all going through a lot of things with that person, where it be like a good, strong friendship or relationship, and sometimes you do need that space, I think, because you need to hit that reset button just to gather your thoughts, come back, because sometimes you need that opportunity to deal with what's going on. That's my opinion.
I agree. Does it always happen like that?
It can happen either it can happen voluntarily or it can be forced to happen.
Right.
Because sometimes you can keep stuff built in and then it just explodes all of a sudden. And then sometimes people may be given that little opportunity, like, hey, just let me dial back and just let me get a good understanding. But then you have some people just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And that's when you know that person explode all of a sudden.
So, because you said explode twice. So,
I use another sort.
no, no, that's not a
No,
bad
okay.
word. So, the
Okay.
reason why I'm catching that because when you say for a person to explode, what causes in that dynamic, what causes an explosion or what causes it to or what causes someone to hold everything in to it just goes poof.
Well, it depends on the person. Say, for instance, like you deal with each person different. Say, for example, if somebody is doing something to you and you only been knowing them for a couple of weeks, right? No, I need to push away from this person because it's not good for you, right? But then, say, for example, if you've been knowing somebody for years, right, and they doing
Mhm.
something that really get underneath your skin, you're gonna tolerate a little bit more, but you just need to tell them like, hey, well, I don't agree with this or such like that. And then, then sometimes the person I already know you say, well, I'm gonna just give you your little space apart from everything. Then they come back and revisit. So it depends on, like you said, it depends on the person, how you
But
interact with that person.
what are we speaking? Now I gotta ask y'all, are we speaking on relationships or just friendships? Or,
That
relationships with your parents because that all plays a part in space because a lot of times when you give people space, right? Especially if they tell how they respond. Sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing. Because if I give you space and you already have abandonment issue, you're gonna feel away, right? And
that's true.
then sometimes if you don't have emotional maturity, you give somebody space. Do you can see an explosion reaction? So it just all depends, like you said, I can give my parents space because we had an argument, right? They might handle it different where I won't get a phone call. Whereas a relationship, space. When you want space, it could be you can come back with a break baby. You can come out, y'all not together no more,
That,
or it could
that's true.
be that space be like, oh, we need, like you said, a reset, right? Or a
Mhm.
friend. The friend space, it could be like, okay, we're no longer friends anymore, or we needed that time apart, or we actually communicate to talk. So it just all depends on, like y'all said, what relationship you are, and then emotional mature, how they handle the words,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Okay.
I see what you're saying. So, like I said, that's one of the things that you just have to look at and stuff. You made some good points. I never thought about looking at each one, three different stages. Like you said, friendship, family,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then, relationship.
Relationship.
And so, but at the same time, though, there's people who you might give up a little bit more boundaries based on the person, on how they are in your life and stuff. Because everybody come or be part of your life in different ways, so to speak. And so, and you're gonna deal with them different. So that's a good point.
Do
Yep,
y'all
that's a
think
good point.
space and boundaries go together to me, to you guys?
Yes,
Okay. The
yes.
reason why I
Because
say that is, go,
cause
go
they
ahead.
give
I'm gonna
up
let you
boundaries.
go.
I'm like, nah, I'm not giving up boundaries because I'm giving you space. We're not doing that. You don't get to walk over me because you give up boundaries and that gives the person the thought that weakness. Because no boundaries equates to weakness. They feel like you're weak. And then they can you're a pushover or you're a people pleaser or you're gonna do. So I'm not giving up boundaries because I'm giving you space. My boundaries still stand where they stand. I gave you space for you to readjust yourself to the boundaries that you have crossed. And that's before you take me to a different place. And I'm saying safely where the space is there so that you can readjust and so that I don't get out of character or that's basically it. Not to get out of character. It's to maintain poise. It's to maintain your peace.
It's funny you said poor, so that's gonna go back to grace, right? So are we allowing the grace in that same space with boundaries?
I feel like it depends on the person.
Absolutely. it
They always
depends
gonna
on
go
the
back to that. Yeah.
situation as well, what you're giving grace to. Grace can be given, but how many times are we going to give grace on certain things? Like if you're dealing with a child, that means they lack maturity. They lack emotional maturity. They still got room to grow, right? But when you're dealing with an adult who is supposed to know better, we can have a conversation. We're going to open that conversation. I'm going to open the floor up to have a conversation. That's grace, because now we're acknowledging what the problem is, and we're going to come up with a healthy solution to that problem. But then strike two and then strike three, that it's intentional at that point, because that means you heard me, but then it went in one ear and out the other.
You know, it's funny you say that, which set me up to ask you another question. Why do some people struggle to respect boundaries?
That's a great question.
Cause,
I think
'cause you know you got people out there like that.
I think it's pride. A lot of it is attached to rooted with pride. Their pride or their ego may be hurt a little bit because you check them. No one tells me no. No one tells me what I can and cannot do. Pride makes you talk to yourself like, who do they think they are telling me I can't do XYZ? And then that's when they become, because they're having talks in their head. And it goes back to rejection now. Because you telling someone, no, you can't do this to me, that no is still a form of rejection. They may not take it as healthy. It's saying you just told them no. You can't tell me no. You're supposed to tell me yes. So I think it's pride. What you think, Carl?
I think when people struggle with boundaries, it's because we have allowed them to take advantage of us. We have allowed it because oftentimes this behavior has been presenting itself for so long and we have allowed it, right? So now we don't like it no more. And we're like, hey, I don't like when you do that no more. So from here on out, I need you to stop. You telling me to stop? You've been allowing me to do this.
Right.
So, like you saying, it's a rejection, and then it's like that ego come out. Like
Mm-hmm.
you telling me you've been allowing me to do it. So what makes it different now? What makes it different now? I see myself different. I won't allow you to hurt me. I won't allow you to manipulate me. I won't allow you to have that behavior anymore. So we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna stop it because I need you to correct it. Because in the past, it probably hurt me, but I never said anything. So
Right.
now, right? So now
Yeah.
it's like, nah, mm-mm. I can no longer allow you to hurt me anymore.
Exactly.
But see, remember, now it goes back to that grace. Grace is a part of the heart of a person, right? But I'm never gonna allow you to have that behavior. See, that's the difference. You see? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm just like some people struggle with boundaries. What do you think? Well,
I think you're right. Some people do struggle with boundaries because, like you said, you have family, you have relationships, and you have, it just different people. You're going to treat people different, especially some people that's real close to you. And, you're going to let some people get away with certain things too because you're going to let people step into your boundaries a little bit more based on your relationship that you have with them and stuff. Say, let me give you another example. Say, for instance, like, for example, certain things that, in talking to my oldest daughter, she comes up to me and talk to me a certain way, I'm gonna let her in, certain boundaries and stuff like this, right? But then again, somebody else that, just socialize with, like, I give you an example, like at work, like, I just socialize them in work, right? So of course you're gonna have zero tolerance. Like, hey, why are you talking to me like this? And they don't have anything to do with work right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is personal. So now we need to go back to just work. Same thing like how your supervisor was try to check you on something and say, hey, they don't have anything to do with nothing. You know how sometimes you have to, correct certain people, like take like your supervisor, for instance, right? Want to talk to you a certain way. Then you have to let them know, hey, that position, don't give you a right to talk to me. You gotta still keep it professional or it's gonna be some issues. And so that's the boundary right there at work. Hey, we're not gonna talk to me. We're not gonna keep it professional. You're gonna talk to me a certain way at work and stuff. You don't know me like that to be talking to me like that. So, just keep it cordial. So that's what I think.
So on the boundaries, this is just what I have found from my experience as being like military and manager, some people lack boundaries because of upbringing. And it just depends on the dynamics because you have different parental styles. And then what I have found, and just from my own upbringing, when you have authoritative parents, they don't give a lot of room for you to have a voice at times. So a person may lack boundaries because they didn't have a voice to speak against what is hurting them or to thoroughly explain why something hurts them. So it gives different ways that they kind of voice themselves without voicing themselves, if that makes sense. They don't really get to verbalize, so then they act out in different manners. And then most people that I've noticed are in authoritative relational dynamics. The other person becomes a people pleaser because they don't have a voice. So they're always pleasing or looking to make everybody happy or looking to be the peacemaker and still not using their voice. And people, they look at that as being a weakness, or you play on those weaknesses of that person, and that's where boundaries begin. I believe that that's where the start of where people begin to lack boundaries. And when you lose your voice, you tend to lose your confidence as well, and then you look for other things to gain that gain confidence in certain areas, but you still don't have that voice. And then so from my experience, until you say enough is enough, I'm not doing this anymore because I've extended grace too many times. And you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm tired, just run out. It's not sufficient for you anymore. So that's when you begin to learn boundaries. You're like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing this. She did this the last time and she said, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry still didn't give corrective behavior. Because a true apology is change. When you change the behavior, then that's a true apology. But if you say, I'm sorry, and you come back and you do the same thing, because she ain't gonna do nothing but accept the apology. So now you become a people pleaser and people look at that as a weakness. And I'm gonna keep playing on that. Well, I can, and then you become used. We're all here to be used, but not misused. And that's emotionally misused, mentally misused, physically, sexually, spiritually. We're not here to be misused by no means. So I think it's a respect level. When people lack respect for themselves, that they disrespect other people. And again, pride is the thing that allows them to disrespect other people because they lack accountability. They don't want the accountability. So they want you to say, oh, okay, I forgive you, and then I'm going to go do it again. So I think it goes back to that's kind of the root of all of that. And then it grows into a larger problem in how you handle people in relationships. Because if you respect them fully, then that means you love them and you don't want to hurt them, because love does not allow you to hurt other people, especially if they voice and say, hey, I don't like that. And then you just say, hey, I'm gonna do it again, or I'm gonna do it 10 times harder than I did before because she told me no, or he told me no. This is a respect thing.
I agree. But I'm gonna go back to what you were saying a bit there. Sometimes as we grow up, right,
Mhm.
the foundation of our parents, right? But I'm gonna take a little bit further. I feel like down south, so we're from down south.
Right.
That mentality of crabs in a barrel to me is you be quiet and you do as you told. Not understanding or learning boundaries until you get older, until you start becoming an adult, and then you form a relationships, and then you find out what's right and what's wrong, and what you know you won't tolerate, right? Because oftentimes what I've learned is I was a people pleaser. I want
Mhm.
to please everybody and make sure everybody's good, but then you get burnt out. Then people misuse you and abuse you, right? So then I had to set going to therapy. I had to set boundaries. When I started setting boundaries, boundaries are for to protect me, okay? To ensure my peace so I won't get burnt out. Everybody is not going to accept the boundary and not going to like it. Like you said, you give people grace. I've given people multiple times grace over, but I'm not accepting the behavior. So I can
Mhm.
tell you 100 times, hey, I don't like that. Like you said, they're still keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it until you, hey, that guess what's going to happen? That space because that boundary came
Absolutely.
about, and then
Yeah.
now I'm going to show you better than I can tell you, not in a malice way, but just to let you know, hey, you can no longer do that to me. I don't accept that behavior anymore. And
Right.
we got to do better with it because I see it, I hear it often, and I'm glad we're talking about that. So maybe we can help someone to allow it's okay to give space. It's okay to have boundaries. And it's definitely okay to give grace, but just remember grace is from the heart, right? But we don't accept the behavior. So never
Absolutely.
accept that behavior, especially if it's hurting you. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we're in this new age, BS. We are in societal norms. We have allowed new societal norms, as they say, street terms, to play in people's faces
Mm.
and be okay. Like, where do you lose your bearings, your morality, and say it's okay to play in another adult's face? Like, that's audacious. That you feel it's okay to disrespect a person or, do, spiteful things, like intentionally malicious things. And then also have like gang stalking to go along with the maliciousness. Or if it's not gang stalking, then you have the group chats to validate the maliciousness of you playing in that person's face to humiliate, honestly, to bring a humiliation to that person. And they may have not done anything to you. That's something that I have seen regularly. And that's when you give, great distance because it's malicious intent, intentional maliciousness for no, and I'm not going to say it's no very reason because normally when people are malicious to that point, then there's some inner emotions that they have not spoken about, some dislikes that they have not spoken about. And when I say dislikes, it could be envy, it could be jealousy, it could be admiration to the point where they admire you so much that it turns into negative feelings. So I think a lot of that comes with emotional maturity. There are a lot of grown adults who lack emotional maturity in handling their emotions, and then they feel the need to be malicious towards people because they can't handle their own feelings. And we see there are a lot of grown adults who do things like what I just, made examples of. And that's not okay. And then that's how people end up really getting hurt. And then you keep pushing a person because they haven't said anything to you or because they haven't blasted you like you've blasted them. And they give you space or distance and you think their space and distance equates to weakness when it may be them protecting you from the inner, because once you bully a person and back them in a corner, then that can turn into something total. That's the explosion that Walter was talking about. Now they're exploding because they've given you so much space and they've given you so much grace. Now they got to protect themselves, and it could be anger, fear, a whole bunch of things that blow up into something that could have been avoided. But being audacious, I'm going to keep doing it. Because now, to me, it feels like you have created a desire, a thirst to continue to quench your thirst, to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. Is it right? No, it's not right. But you have a lot of adults that do this.
Based on all that what you just mentioned, right? And how we talked about different boundaries, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know how different people violate your boundaries and all this stuff. So how do you communicate boundaries without damaging the relationship?
Having a hard conversation. And this is something I say within my own family dynamics. And when I say family, I mean immediate family, like my siblings, my parents. Hey, and I had to have a sit down with my father a while back, and I let him know, like, hey, you said some things that really bothered me. I felt like they were, and he may not have felt that way because it's something that he does normally. But as you become an adult, you realize And then with therapy, you realize certain things just not right. So, and I told him, I said, hey, we need to have a sit down and I need to have a hard conversation that may be somewhat uncomfortable, and we need to work on healthy ways to communicate, because the way you're communicating is not healthy to me. And if we can't come up with a healthy way, then I'm going to stop, distance myself and stop talking to you. So he received that because I didn't come at him in a aggressive way. And sometimes you may have to send a text and say, hey, I need to talk to you. I need you to be able to receive what I'm saying. Let me know when you can sit down and have an open conversation without any harsh feelings. It is ways to communicate certain things so you can prepare that person to get ready to receive what you're saying. I'm going to hold your hand. This is with love, but what you're doing is hurting me and I don't like it. And I felt this way because some people hold stuff in for years. I felt this way for years, and now I feel like I have the voice where I can say what I need to say to you because I'm courageous enough to speak what, harms me.
Well, I'm gonna go a different way.
Okay, let's
Cause,
go.
'cause okay.
Now,
The,
that was just my father's example. Now, I'm not
no, I
saying I
no,
have the
I
same
hear
feelings
you, but
towards
I'm
different
just
people.
yeah, exactly. But here's
Okay,
where I'm coming from.
okay.
The immature Karen is gonna ignore you and just create space. Okay, the mature Karen is gonna first journal because I need to write down all my thoughts down before I enter, whether it's telephone, text message, or email. Okay,
Mhm.
because now I have to process the write it down, outline what I'm gonna say, and then communicate. So I'm not knocking what you're doing, but I'm just saying in the different stages of my life. Because when you're
Okay.
young, you don't give a you don't give a damn.
Well, that's
You
true.
you either go cut somebody out, right? But now that you're older, or if you're going to therapy or not, I'm gonna say some people, because just because you're older don't mean you know how to communicate. Because
That's
sometimes
true.
communication can be considered control. You think you're
True.
communicating, and it's really control. But
Mhm.
now I want to write it down in a journal. Then I'm gonna either pick up the phone, email, or text. So yeah. But it just also meeting people where they at too, knowing who you communicate with also.
Some of them
Okay.
it's hard to meet where they are. Some of them you just have to give them their space because they're not even ready for a soft intro to having a hard conversation. They're just not
Exactly.
emotionally.
They're not, and they're not ready for boundaries either. So, because when I'm calling or talking to you, yeah, like you say, let me hold your head. We're gonna have a hard conversation. And some people get defensive because that has happened, or some people will give you space. And guess what? That's okay. That's
That's
okay.
true.
How do you handle it?
Well, how I handle it, it depends on the relationship. Meaning, do I have value in the relationship?
Mm.
Meaning, like, if I don't have no value in a relationship, yeah, I mean, it's done. Just create that space and keep on moving.
Okay.
But if I value the relationship, I will do what I said before, like hit a reset button. I want to value relationship, so I will step back just so I can get my thoughts together and gather on the how is the relationship with that person. Do I want to salvage it? Because if I don't want to salvage it, I don't have to worry about communicating boundaries because there's no more boundaries because I'm out. So it depends on the value of that person, the value of that relationship. But then, some people, you develop a nice, good, strong relationship with, I value them. And I said, well, you know what? We're going to take a step back. It might be a couple of days, might be a couple of weeks. And, you do have that, remember, you do have that friend in your life, that person in your life where y'all might go hard at it back and forth and stuff like this, right? Then y'all won't even talk for a while, right? Then next minute, y'all talk. And the boundaries are still there, but well, I ain't gonna touch on that matter before because you was a little bit off the chain that day. So I'm gonna leave you alone. But we still gonna talk, go back and start talking. So communication is that, but then I have to think about, do I value the relationship to salvage with the communication part? So that's how I look at it.
Question to you is, what do you consider value?
What do I consider what now?
Value in that relationship, like a girlfriend, a child, a parent, like what as a man it to you is value.
Well, as I got older, well, when you young, you have a big circle. You meet people,
Mhm.
but then now as you get older, you able to put people in different categories. Or is this just a social that I just mess with when I see them? Hey, how you doing? You just speak. When you see them, you speak, catch up a little bit, and then you just because you have people that you talk to, and y'all don't even really change numbers because you don't talk to them like that. After you speak, then you might have those same type of people that's in your circle. That when I say in your circle, they go to the same location that you go to. You know how it was back in the day when you 24, 25. You know how small Jackson is. You go to the same club, you're going to see the same group of people. You never really, you just know them from the club. That's it. And so with those type of people or those people in general, how I establish, who I would establish a relationship. Now, if it's somebody like a family member, of course I try, family is something else. So of course I'm going to try to establish keep the relationship going with the value. I like the value to that, right? But then again, you may have this relationship that, that make it be a friendship, kind of like a friendship more, but y'all been through some things. Y'all work together for a long period of time. Some things that happened in the past where y'all develop a trust among each other too. It wasn't just like, hey, do I trust you? It's just like you don't even ask because all the stuff that happened in the past, is there. Like I have this friend that we worked together, been knowing him for like 20 plus years, right? And it just happened that we just clicked. That it was just like, we never asked her, do you trust me? It just automatically went there. So based on that right there, some friendship relationship has different value that you're gonna want, that you're gonna want to communicate on the different boundaries and all that stuff. But then again, here's another thing too. If that person value you as a relationship, value you, and they've been knowing you for a while, they gonna already know what your boundaries are. So they
True.
know how to stay away from them or if something comes up, talk to you a certain way. Hey, I know you feel this type of way, but let's talk about this, that. So that's the difference when you've been known for somebody for a while. Just by communicating with them, they know your boundaries. So yeah.
But
So that's how I would do.
you said something
So what?
major. You said when they value you. So with that being said,
Mhm.
if they don't value you, even with knowing somebody for a long time, that doesn't mean that they value you.
Yeah.
Look, they're willing to cross your boundaries. So that's
Well,
major. That's a key point.
yeah, because you do have some people that sort of try your boundaries, and you do have some people that try to take advantage because they've been knowing you for a while. Hey, well, I'm gonna try this because I know he do.
Absolutely. Family do
But
it all
then,
the time.
yeah, and that's when you have to just. I say you have to, you have to judge the value too. Now you have to judge the relationship. Now I did say that too. Now, so you have to
Yeah,
judge the
because I was gonna
relationship.
ask. I was gonna ask. You said family. I was like, wait, now we talking about immediate
Wait,
family, or we just talking about family as a whole? Because
now you have to judge. You have to judge it because you do have some distant relatives out there that will try you. Oh man, remember you know me for so and so. Hey, can you help? I said no, I know you from so and so, but I don't know
Yeah.
you that well. So I'm a we're gonna speak from a distance. But yeah, you do have those people there. You do have those type of people like that. You do have those family members out there that you have to constantly watch for, listen to how they move. I took that out of you. Took a page out your book, Melanie. You always saying how they move, so you
Mhm.
gotta watch how they move. So, but yeah,
Most definitely.
what do you
Space and
got?
grace.
Yep, that's. I mean, yes, that was a great topic. This was a great topic right here.
You know
You
what? Cara
know,
said something. She said that the old immature Cara. So because she put that out there, what did the immature walk do? Because you know
explode
you
first,
don't give us a lot of
explode,
the
explode, explode.
so what did that explosion look like?
Say a couple of choice words.
Okay. That was me.
Say a couple of choice words, and I say what I have to say, and then I get quiet. But I was the type of person where when I explode, when I talk to different people, and so like we out and about, and you do something, and I explode, and then somebody come up to me. You know how some people be shy still, say like they'll come up to you and say like hey, be quiet. We're around all these people. I'm that type of person that would say, I don't care nothing about these people. I ain't gonna see them no more. So I'm gonna let it go.
Oh, so you ain't give a F. You just went
Yeah.
and gave them
And
them
yeah,
expletives. Okay.
Yeah, because it was true. You weren't gonna see him no more. I'm the type of person that, where you looking at? I am not talking to you. So
oh,
hey, keep it
Sound
moving.
like little fight words. So
it was
I
like,
was Walter as well. When I was
Yeah.
younger, I didn't care. You
yeah,
gonna get cut out. You gonna get these words, and you will get them hands if you tried it. I didn't mind at all. But hey, we're neither here nor there. The Lord took the wheel and He made a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, okay, there we go.
I was very explosive, and I would say that's because I was emotionally immature and more reactive than responsive at the time. So now, sometimes you may not get neither one. You may not get a response or react. I may just silently look at you and say, "Okay, you okay today?" and walk off. I mean, because a lot of people when they know they've run out of grace, at that point, I feel like that's when they start playing in your face and like, okay, I'm finna go out with a bang.
Yeah, I'm just going through the motion. I'm just here.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna capitalize on what can I get from you right now. I already know I'm at the end. So anything else is like a bonus. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
So that's when I was talking about you have to think about how you value their relationship. Well, it's time to let go then.
Yeah.
And just being careful, like how much the grace you want to give to people, especially if they show you who they are. And oftentimes people do show you who they are, right?
That
So yeah, as we
more
get
than
ready to
often
close,
they do show
yeah,
us who they are.
well, yeah,
It
that's
us turning a blind eye for whatever reasons we're turning a blind eye. I think that's what also taught me to have boundaries because a snake is a snake. The only thing it does is shed its skin.
Yeah.
Doesn't change in nature.
Yeah, it's true. Well, you guys, I really did enjoy this topic tonight. We had a lot of great input. I have to mess with Carver. See, I did talk a little bit more tonight.
you did. Hey, kudos. Wow.
Very proud of you.
Okay, it wasn't called for all that now. It's
Yeah, it
simple.
gotta be
Nah, yeah.
celebrate. No,
See, see. But do y'all have anything y'all want to add? Say,
I would. The only thing that I would say, what would you give the one advice as we close our Space and Grace episode? What would you tell your audience? One thing.
communication. Communication. I most definitely would say you have to communicate because sometimes I feel like if you don't communicate, people will still try you and say, I didn't know you felt like that. I didn't know that was your boundary. So yeah, I feel like you have to communicate that. That's the one thing I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Reciprocity, equal give and take. So respect equally. Communication must be equally. So everything must be reciprocal. The love you pour onto a person, they should pour it back into you because it's a two-way. It's a partnership, a friendship, a relationship. It's a two-way street. It has to go back and forth. Those arrows have to go back and forth. Both cups should be filled, not just one. So reciprocity.
I would say as we final in tonight, stand on your boundaries. The boundaries for you protect you and your peace. So stand on your boundaries. Y'all have a good night.
Okay. Again, don't spill the tea, spill the truth. I'm your host, Walt J, here with Melanie and Carver. If this conversation hit, tap in with the underrated. One story a week you won't see anywhere else. We'll catch you next time. All right.
What you mean?
I'm just playing.
I'm finna cuss tonight. Cara ain't finna cuss. An hour worth of footage. You talking about some goddamn
I'm hitting the restart. I'm hitting the stop button.
Well, if it keep rolling, that's fine. But long as we don't lose the footage.
We ain't gonna lose the footage. That's why I'm just
You
sitting
said
here.
that last time we had that audio now.
Don't come me.
I'm going to hold your hand like I do my little brother. You gonna get cussed out.
No comment. No comment.
Cause that was good. Now I feel the same way Cara did.